What if I told you that there's this really messy, chaotic, intentional, but also very vulnerable spot of spirituality that a lot of people like to skip over because honestly, nobody wants to be uncomfortable, especially when it comes to learning about oneself. So in this video, we're going to talk about that messy and just the real part of healing and spirituality in general. So let's get into this video. And if you like this video, or you like my channel, or if you like videos like this, I will recommend that you like and subscribe and support the channel and all that good stuff. If you are a regular, then you would know that I usually film somewhere else in my room, but honestly today I'm just not in the mood. I'm chilling, I'm relaxing, but this video idea has been in my head for over 24 hours and it's been poking at me. So rather than making it more difficult for myself, I'm gonna make it easier and we're just gonna record somewhere different today. But anyways, let's get into this video. You must be wondering, well, what is it, girl? Tell me what it is. I won't be shy with it. Y'all, the hidden truth, or I should say the unwanted part of healing, is when you have to do a lot of spiritual destruction. Oh, and like always, I have my notes on my phone, so if I'm looking down, it's because I'm looking at my notes. But it's that spiritual destruction, y'all. It's the identity crisis. It's the identity collapse. It's the inner purification. It's the rediscovery. It's the reincarnation of oneself. It's the dark night of the soul. I think we've heard most of these before. But if being honest, a lot of people kind of go around it. They don't really talk about it, or they only talk about it when they're going through it. And even then, they don't really know that they're experiencing it. They think it's a midlife crisis, or they think that it's like an ego death. Yes and no. There is a difference between the two. But I do want to emphasize that it is normal, it is natural, and it's honestly necessary, especially when you choose to go on the healing route and rediscover oneself. You will have to go through this. This is one part of the journey that you have to experience in order to go deeper into healing work. And you must be wondering, well, why? Why do I have to suffer? Why do I have to know the ugly parts about myself? Why do I have to grieve for myself? And the truth of it all is that imagine that you're on this healing journey, and this is where you can say this is kind of when healing looks like this way, where it's like all love and light and rainbow and good vibes and all this stuff. Truthfully, that is surface level of healing. That is very surface level, where, you know, sometimes you journal, sometimes you do yoga, sometimes you do healing activities. But when you actually settle with yourself and you're like, it's like sometimes it's a facade. I might look like this and name myself this and title myself this, but I'm not really that. I don't feel like that. I can't even claim that to be true because I haven't done the work. And sometimes we need to admit that to ourselves, that we really have to ask ourselves, are we healing for a trend? Or are we healing for ourselves? And when you're healing for yourselves, this part of the journey comes very quickly. I hate to break it to you. It comes quickly, especially when you're doing a lot of shadow work. This kind of is leading into that work of healing, is shadow work. You're dealing with yourself when it comes to your ego, your pride, your maybe like your lower self, lower vibrational self. All of this is still you, no matter what you title it to be. So since it's something that you are, you have to face it, whether it's good or bad. And I personally think nothing is good or bad. It's just how we handle those situations, how we handle ourselves in those situations, how we handle this version of ourselves. What we did with these things is causing bad actions to be done that's not for our highest good. And so you must be wondering, well, why does this happen? Why do we have to go through the hard part of healing? It's really uncomfortable. Honestly, the really dark part of the storm. You know how you ever seen a storm and it's like this really dark part of it, like the dark clouds? Honestly, I feel like we have to go through it because where there is light, there has to be darkness, and vice versa. These two, it's like a yin and yang thing. You can't really have one without the other if you're truly wanting to understand the whole picture. We can't be our higher self if there's not a lower self. And if we're so busy on catching up to this higher self, how will we even know what our higher self truly is if we don't even know what we were before? How can we know what we want to be or who we want to be when we don't know who we are now? It's kind of like you're trying to skip over a movie, and then at the end you only watch the ending of the movie, and then you're confused because you don't know any of the characters, you don't know the plot, you don't know what's going on, but you see everybody's happy at the end, but you can't attach to something that you don't know. So I do feel like we have to go through these dark moments, these hidden parts, because not only do we have to know ourselves like the back of our hand to the front of our hand, we also have to be willing to face who we are and who we used to be in order to become who we want to be. We have to do that. We can't pretend like the past didn't happen. As much as people love to do that, where they're like, oh, the past is the past, you move forward, move on. I hate to tell you, sweetheart, but the past does affect your present moment, because truthfully, that's the only thing that the mind can really truly remember or recall is the past. And that's also how it kind of operates in the present moment, is through the past experiences. So if you're continuously remembering bad experiences, bad this, harmful behaviors, then what can you expect in your present moment? And then at that point, what can your present be if it's just, and how can you form a future that's any different from your present? So there's a lot of layers to it, and honestly, there's so many ways you can start into this hidden part, as the messy part of healing. Different forms of it could be therapy. It could be doing a lot of shadow work, journaling. It can honestly even be making videos like this. You don't have to even post them, girl. But you can talk to yourself and be really honest, even if you have to do it in privacy. It's what really it comes down to is find a form of release where you can fully say it for what it is, whether it's from you or from the experience. And if you're in a situation where it's really hard because the mind wants to protect us so badly that it will push down a lot of subconscious things that we truly believe that we don't think has happened to us. And sometimes it's so uncomfortable to bring that up again, and you don't want to believe that it actually happened to us. Trauma can really have an effect on us. It can really be traumatic to our body and our mind more than we realize. And if you're in that situation where it's just really hard for you to remember stuff you don't want to remember, it's really hard to sit with that, I would recommend highly to take it step by step. You don't have to jump into the hardest thing that happened to you. You don't have to jump into the most traumatic experience you had in your life. You can take baby steps, because it's not about how far you go, it's how much of an impact each steps make in your journey. So please, I recommend taking your time. Even I recommend doing yoga, doing body stretches, because once you get your body to start opening up, once you get your body moving, that also will help the energy to move. And as the energy is moving, it will also allow you to release. Sometimes when you do a hip opening, you end up crying. Don't know why. That's also a way of releasing. Until you're ready to fully face the situation or face whatever is the hardest to face, find other ways around it or warm yourself up to it. Like it's a sport. You gotta do pre-workout. You gotta train for it. And you also you gotta work out. You gotta do your thing. You gotta prepare for it. So if you need to do that, or even if you need to have someone with you, have a partner, have an accountability partner that makes you feel safe, that makes you feel like you can be honest with them and not judged, that they're also making you feel safe, but they're also very honest with you because they love you. It's out of love. I recommend even doing that too. There's so many ways that you can go about it, but you have to go through the storm in order to come out of it. You can't really jump around it. You can't jump over it. You can't go under it. You can try, but the truth of it, who would even want to be their higher self with old self habits and patterns? It doesn't really mix well. So you can try, but it's like, who wants to even do all that, And so really what was my turning point in my spirituality this is after therapy, because I feel like therapy was not a turning point, it was more of like a stepping stone. But my turning point is when I started doing energetic work with someone that I truly love and trust. And the turning point was when I admitted that I needed a different type of help that I talked about in a previous video, where I logically understood everything. I understood it all, but I was still emotionally, and my body kept score, and that score was getting higher and higher, and it felt like I was progressing within my mind, but I wasn't progressing anywhere else. So I started with energetic work, and that could be somatic therapy, that could be any way that you feel like would be best for you. But mine has been mainly, funny enough, and I hate doing it, but it's been writing. Not a fan of writing, never really been, but it's been writing and working on that through my words and speaking. Words are very powerful. So writing and words are the creation of life at that point. So I started my turning point in doing that and having to bring up situations that, like I said, I thought I was over because I talked about in therapy so many times, but my body was still like, hey girl, I need some reassurance. I need you to release me because I'm not free. So that is my personal turning point. And how do I even manage through that? It's just a lot of compassion and a lot of just taking my time, knowing that it's not an overnight thing, knowing that I can't change in 24 hours, and having to really be okay with that. It's really just being compassionate. It's trying to be the best friend you can be to yourself, because it's not easy. It's not easy at all, y'all. I tell you now, it's not easy. But will I do it again if I needed to? Yes. And am I really glad that I did? Yes, because I never knew I could be this much of myself. And I would take that again in a heartbeat in any life, is to know myself. So it is worth it at the end. This part of my healing journey brought a lot of grief, honestly, and a lot of needing, a lot of necessary surrendering, and just allowing it to be for what it is. I think that's the hardest thing, is that I wanted it to be a certain way so bad. I had so many expectations on how it was supposed to look when my higher self, how my life was going to be when I'm this higher self or this healed self. I had so many expectations, and I realized the hardest part about this part of healing is having to surrender and let go. Because like always, sometimes we think something is best for us, but it's truly not. It's truly not. Sometimes we really don't know what's best for ourselves until we know ourselves. And I do feel like where I was before this turning point, I didn't know myself enough. And what I wanted out of my life, or who I thought I wanted to be, was a lot of external validation, a lot of external proof, or even just a lot of other people ideas that they wanted for themselves, and I kind of put that on myself and thought, I want that too. Not really knowing that, now realizing how much a lot of that I didn't want. How much I was like, yeah, I don't really like stuff like that. I don't really want my life looking like that. It's very interesting. That's also the interesting part of this healing section, or this turning point in healing, is that you kind of just ponder. I find myself pondering a lot, where I'm like, wow, I really didn't want that. Or like, wow, I really used to think like this and be like that. And I will say now, be prepared for those moments, because they will come. That's also how you know that it's working, is that you have a lot of moments where you're like, wow, that is very interesting that I used to think that I wanted that. Or it's very interesting I used to think like that, or be like this. it's like you have a self-reflection moment where you're just like, wow, didn't know that was going on. And it's also the best feeling too. It's the best feeling to go back in situations or think back and not be attached to them anymore and able to see them for what they are. It's a good release. It's a good moment to have. So definitely recommend doing a lot of self-reflections within this healing work that isn't just towards healing them, but just self-reflection and how far you've gotten, or how much of a change you actually made, or how much of improvement you're making. Like, those are really good to have too while you're in the storm, because it's very important to, I feel like for me, that's a way of compassion, is seeing the work you're doing and seeing that, like, hey, you deserve a pat on the shoulder, you deserve that. So yeah, if you're in that part of this hidden part of healing, this dirty, chaotic part, where you're in the middle of surgery pretty much, you accepted that you wanted to get into this surgery. Now you're in the middle of it and you're passed out on the surgical table. You're in this surgery where you are being picked apart, but I promise you, what is being picked apart out of you is going to benefit you afterwards. And I know it's hard, and I know it's difficult to believe that, especially when you are in it, but trust me, this will not be forever. And it is for your highest good. You are doing this because you deserve to be truly the version you need to be, and nobody else version of you. So here are 3 ways to know that you are in need of honestly starting this heavy part of the healing journey. The first way, or the first sign, is that you feel like healing isn't work anymore. You're kind of in the stage where you're questioning it. You're like, is this even working? Is this real? Am I making this up? There's a lot of self-doubt, a lot of self-questioning. You're kind of in the sense of like, you're trying to find a redirection, seeing that maybe you could try a different type of healing or different type of spirituality. That is the first sign too. That is a sign where you're kind of just, before it becomes chaotic, you're looking around to see which direction you want to take. The best direction is within. So the second sign, or the second way, is you do a lot of healing work. Let's say you are journaling a lot and you're doing all these healing activities, but you feel like it's not hitting anymore. You feel like it's like your journal prompts are not as deep as they used to be, or they're not really helping as much as they used to, or you kind of start leaning back on doing any yoga work, or you lean back on doing any therapy. You're kind of like stepping back. We're like, yeah, maybe I ain't feeling it no more. I'm just not feeling it. If you feel like it's not working on you anymore, that could be also a sign that it's time to go deeper within and figure out, okay, maybe I'm not hitting hard enough. Maybe I need to hit a little harder. And the last sign, or the last way of knowing that you're ready to go into this part of healing, is that you start finding videos like this that talks about it. Or you start seeing signs from the universe. Because there will be signs. There's always signs. And sometimes we can ignore them, or we can see truth in them. But if you start seeing signs, or you start having experiences where you're having dreams, start having dreams about things that you're trying to forget, that you don't want to remember, whether it's your past or your present, even if it's maybe you're experiencing a lot of more anxiety, depression, a lot of emotional turmoil, you're having a lot of bodily, emotional, spiritual effects and attacks. If you're starting to have, restless nights and not sleeping how you used to sleep, or you're not feeling like yourself anymore, that's another sign that it's a spirit knocking on that door. Like, hey girl, let me take over real quick. Move over. Let me drive this bus real quick, because we're not going the right direction right now. So those are just the little ways and signs to know that you're ready for this, that even if it's scary and that you're nervous about it, you're ready. You're more than ready, honestly. And here are just some ways also to help yourself while you're in the journey, and how to self-soothe and self-love and self-compassion and all these things that are self-benefit for you. The first way to do so when you are in this is doing a lot of things that make you happy. Whether that's hiking, being with your friends, making art, watching videos, have a creative outlook that has nothing to do with healing, but have some type of release outlet that is not towards healing, where you're actively working on something towards healing. And I highly recommend doing a lot of grounding practices within those outlets that you choose, whether that's through your sacral chakra, your throat chakra, whatever makes you feel grounded. Highly recommend doing it, because sometimes the more stuff you bring up, the more your body is like, oh yeah, that did happen. And sometimes we can get stuck in that pattern of remembering the past so much that we start just living in it and we don't find a way out of it. So make sure you find a way to bring yourself back to where you are now, and doing stuff around that is really helpful too. The second thing, or the second way to help you, is taking breaks. Take breaks, please, y'all. If you've been working on this and you feel yourself getting exhausted by it more than actually helping you, take a break. There's nothing wrong with taking breaks. Breaks are just as much needed as doing the work, because also within breaks, it gives you time to self-reflect. It gives you time to self-soothe. It also gives you time to enjoy life, because life is still living. So make sure you're taking those moments of breaks. And the last thing I recommend doing, or a certain way to help you through this transition, is having an accountability partner. If possible, this one is optional, because I know for me, my spiritual journey and healing journey has been by myself until recently. Has been truly just by myself. I didn't have, honestly, an accountability partner, because a lot of people around me just didn't want to heal, and that is okay. So I wasn't blessed for that, but maybe I could be your accountability partner, and I can show up in ways of making videos like this for you, and reminding you of stuff, or showing you new things, or talking about things that maybe you didn't consider, or talking about topics that you need help in. It's so many ways you can find an accountability partner. It doesn't even have to be somebody you know. But having a community, a person, even, look, y'all, honestly, even animals, having a support animal is really nice too. Just having a place that, or having someone that makes you feel safe, and makes you feel seen, can really help too. So those are just 3 things I recommend while you're in this journey. And yeah, this turning point in healing is not going to be an overnight change. It's not going to be breakthrough after breakthrough and revelations after revelations, and your world's not going to change. You're going to be the next billionaire in the next 24 hours, or everything, your external world is going to change for the best because you're doing the work. We also have to remember that a lot of the work that we're doing are also in divine timing. So maybe something you're working on now is reward, or is breakthrough, has a divine timing of when it's supposed to happen. We have this internal clock within us that is operating 24/7. I forgot the number it actually operates in, but it's continuously operating. And those are our divine timing marks that individually we have for everything that we do. So if you feel like you're doing a lot of breakthrough work, a lot of breakthrough healing, and you're doing it, you're working hard, but your external world is not changing, and honestly kind of getting worse, don't worry. Because I was feeling that too. I be feeling that too. I'm like, girl, I'm doing the work. I'm busting my... Okay. And I will say this too, what I realized, one, like I said, it takes time. Everything's divine timing. The second thing, sometimes big things come in small packages. So sometimes there is changes. You just have to be aware of them. And when you do see the change, be grateful for it. Be grateful for it, because the small things do matter too, just as much as the big things. So if you have any other questions towards this part of healing, or if you have any other concerns, or any thoughts that you want to just talk about, comment below in this video and we can talk about it, girl. Talk about it. But other than that, y'all, thank you for being here. Thank you for sitting with me, and I hope you enjoyed this video. Make sure to like and subscribe and support the channel. And I'll see you in my next video. Love and peace, y'all.